So I want to say that this is probably the best deck for the event. That being said, it is very prone to being disrupted and absolutely shut down, and then like you basically brick. But the White Forest Azamina deck, I think, is already the most popular deck on like Master Duel meta. The way that I've opted to build this, and there's a couple ways you can do it, is one Effect Veiler, one Esteller, triple LZ. This is the mandatory one. I mean, I've seen some people play three of this because it is the best starter, but if this gets shut down, like which is very likely, you probably have no extension. 2 LZ Azamina of the White Forest. This is the bridge to link the White Forest cards into the Azamina cards. Unfortunately, I don't think you can go the reverse way. At least I haven't found it out a way to do that yet. Anyways, 3 Ash Blossom, triple Sylvie. This is your best normal summon. 1 Rusia, triple Fulos, 1 Magnamut, and double Druis Worm. So I'm opting to play the Bestial package. You could cut this and go for like triple Droll if you wanted as well. I'm opting for 3 Black Witch, of course, double Nibiru as my hand trap to pair with the one of Veiler, which is searchable, right, when you search for the Light Spellcaster off of the White Forest cards. 1 Tails, you could probably play 2 since what I've noticed, even though I haven't lost yet, I've played 3 matches, won all 3, is that if you don't have the White Forest engine in rotation, like I was saying, it's hard for you to get from the Azamina engine to the White Forest engine, versus going from White Forest to the Azamina engine. Making that bridge is a lot easier. So you probably want to play 2 of the Tails if you can, since once you control an illusion with like the Azamina cards, you can just use Tails and get the White Forest engine online. 1 Hallowed Azamina is all you need. You can play 2 to 3 Deception. I'm opting for 3 here. Double Call by, 1 Crossout, 1 Wanted, 1 Sinful Spoils of the White Forest. This card is actually crazy. It's also nice that you get so much utility off of it because it's a Guardian Chimera during your opponent's turn. It's a free send and set. You get a lot of value off of this card. Triple Imperm. I put in Woes for like after 2 of my wins. I put in Woes as like extra extension, but I haven't really used it to any effect, so I might cut this card. I tried with and without Azamina Determination. I do think this card is pretty good, but it is a brick if you draw it technically. So like you could probably cut this if you want to be really efficient. And then this Azamina Afez, I don't know how you say it. This card is insane though. This card is nice. You might even want to play more of this. And why don't I have a glossy one up? That's really embarrassing. Not embarrassing, but we should have the glossy. Nope, that's the second one of this. All right, there we go. And then for the extra deck, you've got Sylvia, of course, Mu, Resilago, I don't know. A nice package you can play if you want. This is one of the ways you can build a deck, is a Red Eyes Dark Dragoon with the Albion, the Branded Dragon, because a Synchro 6 that you can make is Muddy Mu Dragon. Instead of going into like a Silvera or a Resilia, you can go for the Muddy Mud Dragon, and then this card can be used with any of the light like White Forest cards that are just like dead on the board, and make an Albion, since this is a Fallen of Albaz, which is what the Mud Dragon will substitute as, and then any light monster. And then this card can banish the Muddy Mud Dragon because it'll substitute its name. It was used as Albaz for the Albion fusion, and then it'll be banished from the graveyard with Albion, along with Albion itself, to be the Albion being the dragon, and then the Muddy Mud Dragon will be the Dark Magician to make a Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. And the reason why this card is actually good in this deck is because you send for cost when you discard. So if you end up discarding like Sinful Spoil cards or White Forest cards that reset themselves, they will reset off of the negate discard from the Dark Dragoon. Of course, because you didn't use any normal monsters to fuse with this, you will not get the pop ability, but you do get a free negate that is potentially a free discard to get back that resource, because even like this Azamina trap will reset itself. The Sinful Spoils of the White Forest sets itself. Woes will set itself. That kind of thing. I think even Deception, I haven't tried sent there this turn well face. Oh, no. It has to be sent there well face. Okay, never mind. So that doesn't work. But the Tails will work. And then, of course, if you send like Hollowed, not that you'd ever would because you'd probably fuse with this anyways, but you would just get this back next turn anyway. So there's a lot of nice like utility you get, or synergy, with the Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. Anyways, where was I? So yeah, that's the Albion and Moon Dragon package. More Regina, the Guardian Chimera for the Sinful Spoils of the White Forest. The Saint Azamina, because you can make that with the Determination. Determination can actually put back your banished Wanted, as well as another card, and make this during the opponent's turn. And then this can bring out like the more Regina. And then if you trigger like the Sylvia Omni Negate, you'll get a pop 2 off Mora Regina after that, for example, or any other Sinful Spoil card. Like if the Deception triggers because you Guardian Chimera pop a card, then it'll trigger the Mora Regina to pop another card, another 2 cards, right? It's like, it's crazy the amount of like disruption you put up with this deck if you're able to set up. I'm opting for a Coral Dragon. You could opt to cut this. I never really made it. You could make another Synchro 6 or put in another high value Synchro. And then, of course, the Silvera Wolf and Rusilia. 1 Diabel. This is my only Synchro 8. I tried putting in a couple others. You could make a couple things work. One of the things that I did make, I used ultra rare crafting points, is I made the Visas Armatira, because you synchro into this, you get a free Omni Negate in searching out the reframing. And even if you use this as material or it gets off the field, you still get a negate. You only need the Visas on the field for the destruction. After the negate, you just need a synchro on the field though in order to trigger the actual negate. So you can get an extra negate with this or get the extra negate with the Dark Dragoon. This one requires the discard though, but this is a brick in your deck, right? So there is that trade-off. But yeah, you could play this package if you wanted instead of like the Dragoon and the Albion and the Moo Dragon package, right? So that's 3 cards freed up in your extra deck. You put 1 Visas in for the brick in your deck if you wanted to go this route as well. This is an alternative 8, and the reason that you would do this is because, say, you know, you have a Woes, you might be like, well, I'll just Woes into the Diabel on my opponent's turn. I don't need to Diabel during my turn, and therefore I can go for my Synchro 8 being the Visas Armatira and go for an Omni Negate in this way, because setting this up during the opponent's turn still gets you the effect to bring out the Silvera when your opponent activates an effect, right? So you still get the extra disruption. The difference is that you will be able to get the Armatira Omni Negate up and live during your turn if you want. So there's a couple of different variables you can play there. I'm opting to put in a Chen Ying into this deck as one of my Synchro 10s along with Baron and Chaos Angel. I'm not running the Dispater, although you could run Dispater if you're going with the Visas package instead of the Dark Dragoon package, because you do have the room to put it in there now with the Bestials that you run here and any of the Synchros, or sorry, not Synchros, the Tuners in the White Forest cards. But the reason I think Chen Yang is important is because if your opponent goes for a Saint Azamina and you don't have a way to out this, which, you know, you probably should play Super Poly in this deck as well, just as another way to break boards with a Garua, let's say, and a Mud Dragon. But you need a way to, like, non-target take this out. Because this card can't be targeted, and then you can't target any of your own cards. So going into a Swordsoul Chen Yang and then being able to, like, let's say, banish your Wanted during your turn to out the opponent's Saint Azamina could be pretty useful. Hasn't come up, but I put it in there for that reason. Guardian Chimera is also a non-targeting pop, right? So there's another way to potentially out the Saint Azamina, but you just got to be careful because this card can really mess you up if the opponent has it up. So yeah, that is the deck and some of the options you have. This one's probably the longest deck profile in the video, but let's go ahead and jump into some matches so you can see how crazy this deck is. Okay, so when you're playing this deck, there's a lot of things to consider, and I'm not going to try to break everything down. We win the coin toss here. Now, my opening hand, it looks pretty good. I have a free stand with the Fulo since I'm going first. I can trigger the Diabel Star. I have to be worried, though, about Ash on my Deception, about Imperm on my Diabel Star, or even Imperm on the Mew, I don't know how to say the name, Rusialago or something like that. All those things would shut me down considerably. I do have LZ, which I can send the card I set off Diabels, which would probably be the Sinful Spoils Quick Fusion. So I could reset it, and then I get extension off of this, so I won't waste my normal summon. So there's a number of different ways depending on what you value going for. So this is probably not the most optimal way to play it, because this is probably the best starter, and if this gets ashed, I'm in trouble, but I mean, I don't really care. So it goes through, and now I've passed the ash check. I now have to pass the Imperm check. So we get the fusion into the Mew fusion here, which is going to search for a Sinful Spoils card. I mean, if it gets disrupted, we just end up on a weaker board. We're still going to be able to search for a Sinful Spoils card off of the Diabel, and then send it off of the LZ if we wanted to, right? So, because LZ's, yeah, hand or field. Anyways, we're going to then go ahead and bring out the Azamina LZ. And because I don't have the ability to, like, link or synchro, which, again, you could argue that, like, if I searched, I could have done this better, right? Because I could have summoned LZ, got the tuner, summoned the tuner, make a Baron, and then send the Mew from graveyard back so I get the extra resource. So yeah, I played this like bad already. But yeah, we're going to go for the standard play here. Grab another Diabel and bring out the Omni Negate. So this now will play around a Nibiru if the opponent has it. Send Diabell, Diabell Star, and summon Diabell Star, set the Sinful Spoils. LZ, send Sinful Spoils, bring itself out, search for Sylvie, reset Sinful Spoils. So yeah, I could have played this better. Normal summon Sylvie, search for Tails here, and then Synchro into the Rasilia. I'm just gonna, hopefully that's how you say the name. And because I synchroed with the LZ Azamina, I'm gonna be able to search, which is really strong here. Send the Tails, which is gonna reset itself, and this is just like pure gas at this point. Search for the Trap Disruption, search for a Deception, because we're gonna banish Wanted to put back the Deception in graveyard, so it will not reset itself to get the free draw. First, we're gonna go into the Diabells after grabbing the Rasilia off of the search here. From the 6 Synchro. So you can see the resource game that you get off the White Forest cards. Bring back the Hollow off of Diabell because, I mean, I'm going to banish Wanted, put this back. The only other card to bring back would be Tails, and I already have pretty much all my White Forest cards in rotation except for the other level 2, which I don't really need right now. We're going to special summon the Rusia, activate the Deception again, banish Wanted, draw, go for another fusion by just sending these. So I'm giving up my Guardian Chimera play to bring out the Saint Azamina, and then Rusia, send the trap for a free draw to Disruption, reset the trap, which is really good, and then the Saint Azamina is going to bring out a Dead Soul, because I'm not going to use the effect obviously, just to get a Baron on field, and then reset the Deception here. So I end up, again, I could have made a way better board, obviously. I'm just going through the motions. I've got bring out the Wolf for a Book of Eclipse on the opponent's turn here. I've got Omni Negate 1, Omni Negate 2. I've got a Floodgate where they can't target their own cards, basically. I've got Ash, and I've got Bounce. And I have, I believe, yeah, I've got the 2 White Forest tuners in the grave, which can put back the level 6 Synchro, and then what I can actually do is trigger, like if I go for the Sylvie, this is a really cool interaction. If I go for Sylvie and then bring itself out, I could trigger the Sylvie effect when my opponent is like has a board, and then I can trigger the Azamina trap card here and then bounce my Sylvie so it won't be negated, and I can actually resolve its effect and bounce my opponent's cards at the same time, because this card will bounce 1, 2, 3, 4, unless I put this back. But yeah, I got a target 4 bounce on the opponent's turn. So they're going to start with Lightning Storm. I'm going to Baron negate that first. They're going to chain Soronir. I'm going to chain the Sylvie to put back the Synchro. Crazy that they'd use Soronir to target that when they know I'm assuming they know that I can quick effect tuner it back into the extra deck. But they do have the call by, but that's fine. I mean, it sucks that it's the Sylvie, but I can still Rusia it back to bring itself out, dodge the Soronir there. But the opponent actually had a plan. I think they wanted to bait out those interruptions. We're going to be able to bring out the LZ. They go for a thrust, and I'm going to Ash that for sure. And yeah, they're going to go Albaz here, pitch the Soronir, so now they can dump off Soronir. And I'm going to end up bouncing back a couple of my own cards. So again, just more extension. This is a free special summon back out where the effect won't be negated, and I can send. I bounce back their Albaz to hand, so they don't fuse. They're going to get the Soronir dump. They dump Lubellion and then just pass off that. Again, they can't target any of their own cards either with the Saint Azamina up. We draw into Deception. Baron's going to put itself back since I use the Omni Negate, bring out the LZ of the Azamina since I can get free Synchro value here now. Like, this deck is just absolutely insanely broken. If your opponent can't stop your turn 1 board, like, there's no chance that you lose. Like, it's just, I didn't even use the Omni Negate. Like, I don't know. I'm not even going to commentate the rest of this match. Go for the Azamina Determination now for follow-up. Don't even need to do it. Go back into a Baron for another Omni Negate. 2 Omni Negates on field. Didn't even need to use the Diabell. Just go Battle Phase and just win the game. So, yeah. Props to the opponent for staying. Nothing that they could really do there. They didn't have the disruptions that they needed. And just like that, the strongest deck of the format, if it goes uninterrupted, is definitely White Forest Azamina. Alright, in this matchup here, we're going to be going second. And I was using the Visas version here. Hard drawing the reframing, which isn't great. The opponent is going to bring out a Magician's Soul, and they're on a Witchcrafter, like Magician's Soul kind of deck, I guess. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, they're going to get some good value here, bring out the Vice Madame. But I did activate a Fubulos, which gets me a +1 in the end, because they summoned from deck and they summoned from the extra deck. So they get back their cards and pass on this field, probably not wanting to extend more into the Fubulos. Our hand is actually not that great. I waste this Fubulos just in case the opponent triggers this Vice Madame effect to add or sorry, special summon a level 6 or lower witchcraft monster from hand or deck. I know that 2 of the cards are spells, so unless this is a card they want to special summon, they'll special summon from deck, which gives me a draw 1. So there's that. But we're going to start, again, knowing that their last card here is likely not a disruption. They do have a negate all my monsters with this, Madame Vert, but I can play around that to a certain degree. So we're going to go ahead, activate Diabel, set the deception. They opt not to negate that. They will, on activation, destroy the deception, which is probably a mistake, because when a spell card or effect, so they should have waited for the effect for sure. We're going to go ahead and send the reframing for the LZ. They can't negate this because this is the effect in hand to summon and search. And then we're going to summon the Sylvie, which I expect to be negated here because this is a pretty good, well, obviously the best normal summon. So this is good, right? Negate my field here. They only really negate the Sylvie. And then I'm going to be able to Synchro extend by using the hard-drawn Azamina LZ into the Silvera to flip their field face down, which is probably a mistake. But I don't have a spell to send off of the Resilia, so there's no point in going for this. But yeah, they're going to be able to get the spell back to hand. They don't end up special summoning from the deck, so that was a wasted Fulos. But we do grab another Deception since the opponent didn't negate the effect. They destroyed it on summon, and we got that off of the LZ here. So now we're going to be able to go full combo with Deception. Grab the Hollowed Azamina, activate Azamina, reveal the Mew, and go into Mew. Mew, grab the Wanted, and then put back the LZ Azamina to bring back Hollowed. And this is the better thing to recycle if you can, rather than the fusions, because this card is just infinite gas in your deck. Go into the Diabel. Diabel is going to be able to grab back a Deception, which is probably a mistake. I probably should have gone for the reframing, but it's fine. Put back and bring out the Sylvie. Go into the Baron. Activate Deception. And then I realized I activated this because I was like, oh yeah, I'll burn for 15 too, right? But it's only during the opponent's turn if you destroy a card. If a monster is sent to your opponent's graveyard and you control... Oh no, sorry, it works on my turn, but I have to control an Azamina card, but I don't control an Azamina card, so I didn't get the pop. And then it's stupid, I should have popped this card. Obviously I don't read, because this card can gain 1,000 attack and defense, whereas I could have just beat over this. So I made a mistake there, which is unfortunate, but it's fine. Look how many misplays I make, but this deck is just so powerful, it doesn't even matter. I end up going for the Saint Azamina again, so kind of a pseudo floodgate. And again, I made a misplay. I could have brought out the Moa Regina and then used the Sinful Spoils to pop these 2 cards and then gone for game. So like, look at the amount of misplays I'm making. It's absolutely crazy. I ended up bringing out the Omni Negate. I don't know if I was going for challenges and I was just trying to prolong the game. I don't know what I was doing here, just being stupid. Anyways, Baron Negate, because I have to now, on the Madame Vert. I know that their cards in hand reset Deception and set Woes. Since I used the Baron Omni Negate on my turn, which is a mistake, I'm going to be able to bring out the Sylvie, which is going to be able to search here, and then trigger the LZ as well. And grab a Tails for follow-up during next turn. I have 1 Omni Negate, and I have Woes Synchro, but I also have the Diabel flip their whole field face down. So I'm going to negate the Fuse here. Since I know 2 of their cards are the Witchcrafter cards, I can Ash this. Since I have an Ash Blossom as well, they're going to be able to activate Witchcrafter Unveiling to summon a card from the deck. And so on that, I'm going to trigger the Diabel to bring out the Silvera and flip their field face down. Now they have nothing left in hand. Reset the Tails that I send off of the Diabel triggering there. So yeah, the Sylvie provide a good value. Drawn to Nibiru, activate Deception, activate LZ, send Tails, which is going to reset itself. Just infinite gas. Grab the LZ that we put back with the Hollow. Now Synchro into Resilia, which I can just send Woes for, which will reset itself. Don't even need to activate it. Grab out the Sinful Spoils, grab out Rusia, like reset Woes. The card advantage engine is just insane. Look how many misplays I made. Could have ended the game last turn. I must have been going for challenges or something. I don't know. I'm being dumb. Battle phase. I give the opponent another turn here. I think I was low on time too. Maybe I was overcooking for sure. I'll bring back Hollowed Azamina, and I don't even think I activate it because I'm so low on time. I have an Omni Negate for whatever they draw. I have the Silvera back in the extra deck. No, I can put it back though. Yeah, because I've got... I cannot put it back, so I'm dumb. But yeah, I have the Omni Negate, so it doesn't even matter. Oh my gosh, what am I doing? I'm so dumb. Oh my god. Anyways, bring out Soul for no reason to go into a Baron. Sure. Like, what am I doing? Go into Chaos Angel? Just attack for game, bro. What are you doing? Stop BMing. I'm not trying to BM. I swear. I think I was just like practicing with the deck too. I don't know. go into everything, set up a huge field. Props to the opponent for staying, my apologies. This deck is unfair. So, there's your proof. If you have the Chimera deck available to you, it is a good option for this event. Despite the Mirror Sword Knight being limited to 1 and the Guardian Chimera also being limited to 1, it's still a very powerful deck because you can just load up on hand traps. I don't recommend that you try to fit the Azamina or White Forest engines into this deck. It's just a little bit too cluttered and hard to do. I think you're better off sticking with the Edge Imp Chain Frightfur engine, since this card is a fiend and it's searchable and it helps make your Chimera plays live. If you cut this engine, you're really struggling for fiends in this deck, I think, and then you're just not getting your engine online as quickly as possible. So with that out of the way, I got 3 Drolls, which again you could opt to play 0 of if you wanted to, but I'm opting for 3 here. Triple Ash Blossom, 1 Master Tau, double Edge Imp Chain, triple Gazelle, King of Mythical Claws, 3 Cornfield Codal, the limited to 1 Sword Knight, which again is not really too much of a detriment because you're searching it off Codal or grabbing Nightmare Apprentice and then grabbing Codal and then grabbing the Mirror Sword Knight anyways, and this is recurable off of the Big Wing when it's used as fusion material. Triple Fulos, double Big Wing Baphomet, triple Nightmare Apprentice, 1 Diabells, double Poly, double Frightfur Patchwork, 2 Dark Ruler, because if the opponent is able to set up a decent board going first, playing the Sinful Spoils Azamina deck or White Forest Azamina deck, even if you do disrupt them a little bit, they're able to set up 1 or 2 Omni Negates. A Dark Ruler could still help you break that board. Super Poly for the same reason. 2 Call by the Grave, 1 Crossout Designator, triple Chimera Fusion, and triple Infinite Impermanence. I don't think you really need to play the Morin trap card either because you don't have a way to dump it really. The extra deck is actually going to be a lot of the Super Poly targets, despite it only being 1 of in the deck. You just don't need a lot of gas for the Chimera Fusion because your core fusions in the Chimera cards are pretty limited anyway. So we got Mew Dragon, Garua, double Chimera. Again, you could play 1 or play 2 Baphomet because you're really only playing for this turn 1, but the fact that you can banish this and bring back a card is good extension during your opponent's turn anyway, so playing 2 is not necessarily the worst. 1 Baphomet, 1 Azamina Sylvia, and 1 Soul. And the reason you play these is because it's very likely that if you do Super Poly, you can bring out this, since you can fuse away like their Omni Negate in the Sylvia and like a Baron, and that takes away 2 big Omni Negates on their side. It gives you this card, and then this card can allow you to, I guess you don't really go for this, but you would go for this to have your own Omni Negate, or go for a big beater in the Moa Regina, but you wouldn't really, like this second effect, when an Azamina or Sinful Spoils effect is activated, you wouldn't really ever trigger that to pop 2, so you're just getting big bodies on the field basically off of your Super Poly, and then this card's effect to make it so your opponent can't target their cards is pretty good as well. But yeah, this card, I mean, I guess an Illusion and a Fiend, like you can use your own cards, and if you do fuse summon this, like fuse away an opponent's Illusion, you are able to get like a free send on the field, so it's not necessarily that bad. You fuse away 1 and then you send another if you do Super Poly into this. Dragostapelia, 1 Chimera for OTKing, 1 Magnum the Reliever. I already talked about the Moa Regina, another Super Poly target in case you go up against like Branded or something. Star Source, Dragon here, which is also a pop 2. Guardian Chimera limited to 1, Saint Azamina, and the Chaos Angel as your only synchro, which you can make with the Mirror Sword Knight and Nightmare Apprentice, or the Edge Imp Chain and Nightmare Apprentice, so decent there. The one thing I will say about this deck too is that unlike in standard mode, you will go into the Baphomet more to get the Gazelle and the Chimera fusion. Since you don't have Xyzes or Links, you don't really care about locking yourself into fusion, so you can go for that play and get the pluses off of the Big Wing Baphomet, which is nice. So let's go ahead and take a look at a match, and you'll see kind of how this hand trap heavy deck performs. Alright, so in this matchup here, we lose the coin toss, but our opening hand is 4 hand traps and 1 starter that doesn't actually do anything, unless we want to make a Guardian Chimera. The opponent starts off by pitching a thrust for a Diabellstar and then passing their turn on just that, so we imperm the Diabellstar, preventing them from getting to Deception, and this indicates they have another thrust in hand. They Ash our Gazelle normal summon, and it doesn't matter because we have no plays anyways. I don't want to risk crashing here to make my Fulos live, so I'm just going to depend on if they do have a way to play that the Droll and the Ash can stop them, and if they do end up beating over the Gazelle, I do have Imperm and the Fulos live. But yeah, setting the Imperm here was kind of risky as well, or not setting it, I should say. They set 2 and pass, so I'm going to normal summon another Gazelle off the top. and search the Chimera Fusion. No negate here indicates to me that these are bluffed cards or not live cards. We're going to go ahead and, like I discussed in the deck list profile, able to use these dead Drone Lockbirds and Fooloses to make the Guardian Chimera with the Chimera Fusion, and then trigger Guardian Chimera to pop 1, draw 2. So we pop one of the back rows. It is the second thrust. The fused off Gazelle searches for the Nightmare Apprentice, and just like that, we have our starter. So we're going to be able to pitch one of the 2 ashes that the extra ash we drew off Guardian Chimera, grab the Nightmare Apprentice, grab Kodal, grab Mirror Sword Knight, which is follow up for next turn, set the Imperm, and I don't want to beat over the Diabel to give them a free bring back and Deception. They obviously top deck Deception though, use it to tribute off the Nib, and I'm just going to ash that, and then the opponent just like, yeah, another -1, I'm just going to scoop it up there because they know I have follow up in game next turn, and just like that, Chimera wins, going second. Alright, in this matchup here, we lose the coin toss, but our opponent wanted us to go first, so once again, we draw into a bunch of hand traps, and 2 starters, actually. Well, I mean, Frightfur isn't really a starter, it's more of an extender. But no hand traps on the opponent's side, so we're going to be able to Gazelle, search Chimera Fusion, and then Frightfur Patchwork for the Edge Imp and the Polymerization. I'm going to use Chimera Fusion here to go into my Chimera Fusion, set off my Chain Links here, get my Hand Rip at the end of the turn, and get the Nightmare Apprentice to hand. Bring back the Chimera Fusion and bring out the Nightmare Apprentice by pitching one of my 2 Drolls, grab the Kodal discard to give me the, I guess, engrave effect here. You got to remember that when your opponent activates a card or effect that targets a card you control while you control a Chimera here, you're going to be able to banish this card and negate that effect and then destroy that card, which is pretty good. Now, we're not going to get the Mirror Sword Knight into the grave, unfortunately. I didn't want to risk polymerizationing and just dumping something, so I just opted to wait on this. The Hand Rip is good. I've got 2 hand traps backing me up, and I got a Chimera Fusion into the Guardian Chimera if I need to. I figured that's enough to hold in this event. The opponent is on an OTK deck in Cyber Dragon, so another good reason to not summon in your extra monster zone here, because they can get that Cyber Fleet thing that takes out your extra monster zone monster. The Droll here kills Cyber Dragon, though. They can't do any of their extensions with the Cyber Dark card, so they're just summoning, and then they hard cast the Power Bond here, and then realize there's nothing they can do because I have a set Chimera Fusion. Even though I've drolled myself and I won't be able to draw off the Guardian Chimera, like, I'll still pop 2, I think, and then just, yeah, shut down any of their plays. So a deck that should be kind of budget for you, assuming you have all of the staple hand traps, and you received the Swordsoul deck in the last campaign where you were able to like get somebody to use your code, is going to be like a Swordsoul Synchro deck. Again, assuming you have Bailers and Ash Blossoms and Mulch Armies, even if you don't have these, you can sub them in with cheaper hand traps like Droll. That's very effective. But this deck, you know, it's not going to be the best, but it can definitely do a lot of stuff going first and do a lot of disruption. What's also nice is, aside from the ultra rare Magnuma, and you don't really even need to play the Lubellion, you can just put in a bunch of the super rare Bestials, and this engine will do a lot to disrupt the White Forest Azamina cards, right? But yeah, we got double Veiler in here, triple Ash, triple Moye, double Taya, triple Incredible Ecclesia, the Virtuous, 1 Golden Swordsoul, triple Fulos, triple Long Young, and then the Bestial package in Magnamut, 1 Sornier. You could play 2 if you wanted as well, double Druid Worm, 1 Baldrake, the 1 of Lubellion, which again, you don't have to play, but because we're playing that, we're also playing the 1 of Regained. Double Nibiru, again, another hand trap. Again, you can opt to play it or not. Triple Emergence, 1 Sacred Summit, just because you need more Swordsoul cards in the deck since you're not playing the Tenyi package, because again, there's no links in this event. 1 Regain, like we mentioned. 1 of Super Poly, which again, just a board breaker. You don't have to play this, but it is very clutch, obviously. Double Called By, 1 Crossout, triple Imperm, and 1 Blackout. If you didn't want to play the Super Poly and all the targets for it, you can just go higher up on level 8 Synchros, level 10 Synchros. What's nice about this package is you can opt to play Chaos Angel and Dissipator, since you are playing the Bestials with light tuners as well. Very, very nice and useful, as well as the tokens that you create off of the Swordsoul cards can go into Dissipator. If you have a Bestial, you don't have to go into like Swordsoul cards if you don't want to, since this can take any tuner, and then the other non-tuner just has to be basically a Bestial, a non-tuner dragon monster. So the extra deck is Moo Dragon, Garua, the Ill Sylvia, the Dragostapelia, Chaos Star Source Dragon, and Saint Azamina. If you are able to Super Poly away, like I mentioned, I think in the other deck profiles, like a Baron for the Synchro and, I don't know, a Sylvia on the opponent's end, you bring this out, it's a very powerful, like, Floodgate-esque effect, and then you're able to bring out for free an Omni Negate. So the Super Poly can do a lot of work and instantly win you games. I definitely think it's worth playing. One Baxia, you should probably play two. One Draco Berserker, you probably don't need it. Double Chisao, one Baron, one Chen Ying, one Sinister Sovereign, Long Young, one Dispater, and one Chaos Angel. So pretty straightforward Sword Soul deck for this event. So when you're playing Sword Soul, you do have to kind of hope to get enough disruption resolving to slow the opponent down and then just be able to play through with your like one card starters. The opponent here winning the coin toss is going to go first, revealing that they are on Exodia, a good deck for this event too. I mean, if you go first, it can definitely put up a lot of disruption since it's not under necessarily the same limitations as the Legend Anthology event. You got the Blue Eyes Disruption, you've got the Recursion with the Wedgie Temple, and then of course you got the Millennium Ankh going into the Exodia, which will set the Exog for a field wipe. The opponent has double answers to my two Fool Losses, which really hurts because I do need to draw a good engine here. They have the Called By for the first one and then the Ash Blossom for the second. Of course, they draw no Exodia pieces, so they're going to be able to set up Exodia and set the Exod here. In the end phase, I'm going to use the Sornier to get that Blue Eyes out of here. And I have to hope to top deck something that makes my hand playable, and I top deck the perfect card in the one of Super Poly, getting that Exodia off the field along with my Sornier to go into a Dragostapelia. Now, if you feared that this was an Imperm, you could make the case, and I did think about this for a little bit before deciding on Dragostapelia, to go into the Mood Dragon, call win so that your Taya can resolve. But if it's an Imperm, whatever my Taya summons, like if it's a Baxia or a Chisao, will get negated by the Imperm anyways, and then the Mood Dragon only being 1900 attack won't be able to beat over anything. So I have to take the risk that I can resolve this Taya, hoping that, you know, I know that this Exod is dead now. The opponent, for some reason, yeah, just imperms my Dragostapelia, so I'm like, that's amazing, because now I pretty much win the game, because Taya banished the Summit, bring out a token, go into Baxia here, and then Baxia is going to spin back the Field Spell and the Golem, which are their extension plays, and this will allow me now to beat over their cards without them going to their back row, cutting off any follow-up that they might have. I send a Moye in case I top deck into a Sword Soul card that I can destroy the Baxia for, bring back the Moye, or I can just bring back the Taya again anyways. But yeah, we're going to go battle phase and beat over both of their cards, leaving them on a dead Exod, and now my Dragostapelia is able to monster negate again, but again, there's nothing really to negate in this deck, except for the Exodia itself. They top deck Raigeki, can't complain since I top deck the Super Poly, so I'm on nothing now. But I do have some pretty good top decks in this deck, right? Like the Ecclesia, the Sword Soul Emergence, and speaking of which, there's Emergence off the top. Grab the other Taya, normal summon Taya, we know that this is an Exod. Banish, bring out token, go into Chisao. There's probably better things to search. I was just going through the motions. I searched for a Long Young here. Probably should have gone for Blackout, but it's fine. I do have a Monster Negate still in the Chisao, which again, against any other deck would normally be pretty good. The opponent draws and bricks, thankfully, passes over to us, and now we're going to be able to attack for game. Being under 2,000 life also means that they can't activate any of their like monsters if they don't have the Ankh in hand, because they don't have 2,000 life points to play. They reveal their top deck though in the Baylor. We're going to go battle phase, attack for game, and just like that, take the victory, going second with Sword Soul. Alright, two more decks that you could use for this event. Probably not too budget friendly. I don't really think the Dinomorphia deck is going to be all that good, but it is a viable option, pretty much at full power. Nothing in the deck's engine is restricted. You've got all your trap cards. The issue is, you know, you don't play hand traps. I don't see how this deck does anything going second. Like, you just pretty much lose, in my opinion. You saw, if you watched the early part of the video, that like if you go up against the White Forest Azamina deck, which is probably the most popular deck, especially if you're higher up in the ranks, you will face up against like 2 to 3 Omni Negates, as well as like pops like Guardian Chimera, the Moor, Regina. So if you go second and you set these cards, they're going to be negated and they're going to be popped. So you just auto lose in those matchups. Your only board breakers like Super Poly. I mean, you could maybe try putting in Dark Rulers, and then maybe that can allow you to get into the Dinomorphia Rex term, and then from there you shut down your opponent's monsters. But aside from that, I don't really see what else you could be doing, since again, the Azamina deck can play spells and traps that are able to maybe play around a deck like this. But this one is 3 Wannabe. Again, if you go first, it's great. If you go second, like, it doesn't really do anything. It's kind of a dead card. 1 to 2 Miscellaneousaurus, 3 Theresia, 2 Diplos, triple Fossil Dig, 1 Super Poly, triple Ferret Flames. Like, going first, this deck could be really, really strong. Like, it's like going first, it could be almost unbeatable if you get like the Omni Negates with your traps and set up your Floodgate. But yeah, going second, it's just really rough. Double Trap Trick, triple Dinomorphia Domain, 1 Dinomorphia Alerts, 1 Brutes, triple Frenzy. Soul of the Supreme King is another engine that you could play in this deck if you wanted to, with the Supreme King Z Arc and the Akray Dragon. Triple Daruma Cannon can help shut down the Synchros, right? One Solemn, double Strike, one Sonic, one Intact, double Iron Thunder. Of course, all of these traps you can mess around with the ratios for. Totally up to you. Very expensive deck though to just lose going second in my opinion. Not really worth it. Extra deck, one Moo Dragon, triple Kentragina, double Stealth Bergia, one Garua, one Brave Eyes Pendulum, triple Rexterm, one Supreme King Zearch, one Odd Eyes Akray, one Crystal Wing Synchro, and one Chaos Angel. The two oddities, right, in the Brave Eyes and the Crystal Wing are cards that will trigger off of the Soul of the Supreme King if your opponent activates a spell when this card is in your graveyard, and you can trigger the effect here. Other than that, though, you know, this deck, it's an option if you have the Dinomorphia cards. It's a deck that goes on hit in the event, so that could be good. Another deck that's basically unhit and carries over from the Legend Anthology event if you have it already is the Exodia Millennium deck. Now, obviously, this one is 5 pieces of Exodia, the Forbidden One. We opted for double effect Veiler, one, of course, of the Exodia, the Forbidden One, triple Ash Blossom, one Maiden. You could opt to play this or not. Triple Fulos, triple Shield, double Golem that guards the Millennium. You should be playing 3 Sun Engine, Wakes from a Millennium, triple Heart of the Blue Eyes, which is a good disruption. It is only once per duel, though, for the effect, so keep that in mind. Double Nibs, you know, you're playing a decent amount of hand traps going first or second. These are great disruptions that you could set up. You could opt to like cut the Nibs for Droll if you wanted to have better power going, like when you go first, you have the Droll in your hand as backup as well, is really strong. But Nib is just really good going first also. I mean, sorry, going second. So it you know, I think Nib is higher impact than Droll in this format, but I could be wrong. Triple Millennium Ankh, double Wedju Temple, one Super Poly, one Obliterate Blaze, triple Imperm, double Exod Fires of Rage, and one Obliterate. These are the cards, obviously, that you set off the Exodia. Same with the Blaze. As for your extra deck, it's pretty much just triple Exodia and then a bunch of Super Poly targets. One Moo Dragon, one Garua, the Azamina Sylvia, Starving Venom, Predaplant, Dragostapelia, Chaos Dark Horse Dragon. I don't know if Heroes is even full power for this event or not, but I just put this in there as another Super Poly target if you go up against Heroes. The big thing, like I keep mentioning, Super Poly for the Saint Azamina if you're going up against the White Forest Azamina deck, and then bringing out the Omni Negate for free is really strong. Floodgate plus Omni Negate off of a Super Poly just wraps up the game, plus you out 2 of their cards on their board. Like, the Super Poly can instantly win you games against the Azamina White Forest deck. And then just some random synchros, because, like, you know, Veiler plus, like, the level 6 could make this, maybe. Ash with the level 5 shield could make, like, Crimson Blader, which will shut down, like, your entire opponent's follow-up plays if you do survive a turn 1. And then just some Synchro 8s. A Synchro 9, because Ash and Golem, right, makes a Floodgate, Banish Floodgate, you know, whatever. Your extra deck's not being used for anything else. You can't make links, so yeah, Exodia is a viable option. It is actually pretty good going first, I will say that. And it does have some gas going second. I would probably play this over Dinomorphia. But those are 5 decks for the event. If you made it this far in the video, thank you again for watching. Best of luck in the event. Quantum is out.